For a spacey futuristic game, Warframe tends to have a lot of standard-ish weapons. Thankfully though, some of these come with a bit of a twist, something to make them special. This is also the case with the Mutalist Cernos, a Mastery Rank 7 primary weapon. Hey guys, welcome back. As always, my name is Leyzar, and I got a couple of builds laid out for you. Something cheap, something affordable that anybody can build, but of course we also have the classic endgame setup with a Riven. That being said though, please keep in mind that my builds and guides focus on a more new player friendly approach, simply because there's a lot of info here and I want anybody watching to understand how the weapon functions and how it should be built. So if you're a veteran of the game and you already know most of this stuff, please bear with me. And with that out of the way, let's jump into the Mutalist Cernos. Let's begin by quickly taking a look at how the weapon handles without any mods equipped, and for that we're gonna be needing these here guinea pigs. Now the Mutalist Cernos looks and acts like a regular bow with one major exception. You will see that as soon as you fire one of these arrows, it is followed by some sort of comet. Now that one is a spore, which upon impact will be generating a gas cloud. Now you don't need to hit an enemy, you can hit the ground like so and you're still getting your gas cloud. The gas cloud seems to have a range of about 5 meters and it will be dealing damage for 10 seconds. Every second toxin damage, and of course this will be modified by your elemental mods as the gas cloud is not affected by IPS. And that's pretty much it. You can have multiple at the same time so you can keep stacking them. Keep in mind 10 seconds duration. Now let's jump into stats to see precisely what we're dealing with. Mod capacity is going to be 60 out of 60, and if your Mutalist Cernos has only 30 out of 30, jump into actions and install the Auto King Catalyst. Now this one can be found from Nightwave primarily, but sometimes it appears on alerts after dev streams, and sometimes you can get it from invasions as well. My weapon has been formatted a total of 6 times, but I only do this for testing and all whatnot. For the weapon build I'm recommending you guys 4 forma should do it. Simply add 3 V symbols and 1 dash. Now that said, let's have a look at them stats. Accuracy is the same for any standard bow, 16.7. As long as you can aim and you take into account the drop off of the projectile, you're gonna have no trouble dealing damage with the Mutalist Cernos. Also, let's keep in mind that the primary source of damage is that cloud. Charge rate of 0.5 with a critical chance of only 15%. Unfortunately, this one is a tad low. If this was 20, we could have worked a whole lot better into critical chance and critical damage because the multi is not bad at 2.0x. It is silent, but keep in mind that when you spawn the gas cloud, you will have trouble during spy missions, so it's not the ideal bow for spy missions. A reload of 0.6, which doesn't really matter. If you don't know what reload is all about when it comes to bows, it simply is the time that it takes you to draw another arrow from your quiver. Riven disposition 4 out of 5, pretty high simply because the Mutalist Cernos is not very popular currently. And keep in mind that this does not share Riven disposition with the normal Cernos family. This one has its own Rivens. A whopping status chance of 49%, and we got impact, toxin, puncture and slash, but again keep in mind that IPS does not apply to the gas cloud. The gas cloud only deals toxin damage on modded, and when it comes to the procs from the primary arrow, you're gonna be looking at a whole lot of impact, which is, well, definitely not ideal. If you can get a Riven with minus impact, then that would be something because you could actually play into slash procs. Now I already have a standard build lined up and let's discuss the mod selection. Damage with Serration of course, and you can skip all the damage mods entirely if you're planning to go with a selfish chroma. In that case I would focus a whole lot more on elemental damage. Heavy caliber on a bow, that's totally not worth, and I would agree normally with that statement unless it's the Mutalist Cernos, simply because you don't really care that much about accuracy when it comes to the gas cloud itself. It is true that the multishot resulting from split chamber and vigilante armaments will be going completely off the crosshairs, and again this is a mod that I normally don't recommend on standard bows. But if you're aiming to get damage with just the gas cloud, then heavy caliber will be working fantastically well. What about critical chance and critical damage? Is it still worth? Well, to be honest, the effect is not all that fantastic, simply because of that critical chance of 15%, the base critical chance. But the gas cloud can crit, so keep that one in mind. It is still worth going for critical chance and critical damage, especially considering that in Warframe, if you pile on the same multiplier time and again, the more you pile on, the less you're getting out of it. So bear that one in mind. When it comes to elemental damage, this should be applied depending on your own circumstance. As you can see, I have a whole lot of corrosive on my weapon with Stormbringer and Malignant Force. Status chance is sky high at 97.8. And you're still gonna be getting some toxin procs out of the weapon. We're gonna be testing the weapon initially like this, but I will say that if you're going down to Fortuna for corpus and all whatnot, then I would build gas instead of corrosive. And you're also gonna be getting those toxin procs as well, so if you wanna take out some corpus, this weapon will be working fantastically well. Now let's see what the weapon can do, but first the effect of Heavy Cal. Normally I don't recommend it, this is why. Take a look at where the arrows actually landed. It's completely off the crosshairs, but the gas cloud won't care that much. So what we're gonna be doing is putting some arrows directly on the ground so we can see what kind of damage we're looking at. Take a look at that. A whole lot of procs from the weapon, and you will see that just in a couple of seconds all the armor from these corrupted heavy gunners level 120 will be completely removed. Now that is a pretty big deal. On the other hand, that's what the Torrid can do as well. No more armor on any of these targets. When it comes to the damage of the actual cloud, well, it does proc a lot, doesn't it? But it doesn't deal that much damage, unfortunately. And you'll see that mostly all of the targets will be having a corrosive proc and a toxin proc as well. When it comes to direct damage on the target, it's pretty simple. If the weapon doesn't crit, then the weapon doesn't deal damage. It's as simple as that. So if you want to work into critical chance, let's think about it for a second. Let's say you get a Riven, right? And because of the dispo, you can get crazy amounts of critical chance, something like 200% on Riven. Totally doable with 4 out of 5. But even with 200%, you're looking at only 30% extra. But we can manipulate this a whole lot better with something like Harrow. I still don't think that critical chance Rivens are worth it on the weapon, but as you can see, the gas cloud can crit, and that is a pretty high advantage. You can use this one as a tool, as a armor remover if you want, like you would use the Torrid, for example. But you can also do a little trick. We can build Blast on the weapon, and no, I have not lost my mind just yet, but I want to show you a cool crowd control trick. If you're going high level content, for example, right, and you're up a corridor, you can build Blast on the weapon, just leave one arrow on the ground and perma crowd control your targets. There is no one-shotting super high level enemies, level 200 plus, 300 plus, and so on and so forth, so what you can do is work into a little bit of crowd control. Now, in all honesty, the weapon is not super powerful, and I'm trying to show you ways that it can be very useful. For example, like this, that was a single arrow and I keep knocking down my target, so you can use it for crowd control. Here's the thing that I don't normally do, showcase versus corpus. Why the hell not? Because corpus are weak and they can be taken out of a fight rather easily, which is why I don't showcase versus corpus. But in this case, since the weapon is proccing a whole lot of status, we can work into a gas build and summon some corpus. So let's do that next. So we're gonna be swapping out Rhyme rounds for more toxin with Malignant Force, and now we got a whole bunch of gas on the weapon. Now let's see how the weapon performs versus corpus. Nullifier. You guys want nullifier? Fine, we're gonna be spawning in nullifiers. There we go. We got a whole bunch of nullifiers over here. And what? Oh, nice. They're also spawning their big bubble and all whatnot. I'm gonna fire a couple of arrows and you will see that the arrow remains roughly at the location of the nullifier bubble, chomping down on the actual bubbles. And as you can see, a couple of arrows have absolutely murdered level 120 nullifier Eximus. So yes, versus corpus it works fantastically well, but what doesn't work versus corpus fantastically well? I'm just trying to showcase that the weapon can be powerful in the right circumstance. Now there's one more thing which we want to do, a Riven Setup, and for this one I got a loaner from a friend. Thank you very much, mate. We got a Mutalist Cernos this one, multishot damage and heat with minus magazine capacity. Now in this case, minus magazine capacity is 100% harmless. We got heat on the weapon, multi-shot and damage from my point of view on this weapon is prio number 1. Unless you want to try some shenanigans with hunter munitions, in that case go for critical chance and critical damage. But again, keep in mind that that base is awfully low. Once again, this is a corrosive setup and we're going to be spawning in corrupted heavy gunners level 120. Leave the nullifiers as is, sure. 2 targets I guess should be enough to show you guys what the weapon can do. Here are corrupted heavy gunners. Now let's see what the weapon can do. We're gonna be putting just 2 free arrows into a target. As you can see, it is chomping down on it quite nicely. We're getting tons upon tons of procs. A lot more multi-shot will be meaning a whole lot more gas clouds as well. And of course, the secondary target was only hit with the gas cloud. After the armor has been removed, you can even one-shot them like that. Because again, when it comes to heavy gunners, when it comes to Grineer units in general, the main issue is that armor. Now let's see what corrosive does versus Eximus. Yeah, I didn't even need to build gas. That was just a couple of arrows and it completely destroyed corpus units. See, that is the issue with corpus. Anything can be good versus corpus units. One more thing, what about Warframe Buffs? Well, I'm gonna be cheating this time, a whole lot actually, and I'm gonna be picking up Lord Harrow because Harrow will give this weapon what it doesn't have, critical chance. Now let's have a quick look at Warframe Buffs, and for an aura what you can use is something like Rifle Am, 27% extra damage to rifles. Now even though this mod specifies that the damage bonus is only to rifles, in fact it does apply to bows as well. It's an aura, so everybody within your affinity range will be getting that 27% extra damage, and it is stackable ×3. When it comes to arcanes, these are a lot more impactful, and normally I would recommend Arcane Rage R3, but in this case we're gonna be going with Avenger. And before you scream at me, let me explain why we're going to be double stacking Arcane Avenger. Keep in mind that these arcanes do double stack. Linking the cards right now for the full demonstration on arcane stacking. Now here's the thing, with Harrow you're getting that 200% critical chance on headshot. For a body shot, for a non-headshot, you're only going to be getting 50%. So that's why we're going to be using Arcane Avenger R3 double stacked, because they do double stack. 30% critical chance boost bonus additive after. Bonus additive after means that it's simply going to apply on top of what you already have. It does not apply to the base 15% of the weapon. So we're going to be going with Harrow's 4th ability so we can get our critical chance. In this case, again, for the gas cloud, you're only going to be getting that 50% extra critical chance, not the full 200% on headshot. This is why we modded Avenger with Harrow, which normally isn't something that you do. And his 2nd ability for some increased fire rate and reload speed. There we go. See, 50% crit chance, and we're going to go for the gas cloud damage. Take a look at this. If I didn't use Arcane Avenger, then only yellow crits, that's what I would be having. As you can see, of course, it can absolutely murder a high-level target. The point here is to showcase the gas cloud to see exactly what it can do. But of course, if you choose to go for headshots on Harrow, red numbers will appear quite nicely. Time to draw our conclusions. Yes, well, I don't like the turret, I don't like the procs, and I don't like this style of weapon, but that's just me. There are a whole lot of players that enjoy playing a weapon such as this. It's not the most powerful bow in the game, definitely not, but it can be extremely strong in the right circumstances. For example, if you take it against Corpus. And even though that's a pretty shallow argument, it's the best that I got. Thank you guys so much for watching. Like, favorite, share, and subscribe if you enjoyed the content. If you got any feedback for me, then by all means drop it in the comment section down below. Also in the comment section down below, if you want to leave a particular weapon suggestion review, like for example, hey, I would like to see, I don't know, a Mutalist Cernos review, which we already did. One more though, one more with the Lady Mirage Prime. Come on, just one more, it's a lot of fun. Firing squad activated. As you can see, of course, I can one-shot high-level targets because I'm getting a whole lot of extra damage from Mirage Prime, and I'm getting my critical chance from Arcane Avenger as well. That's it. Bye guys, see you in the next one.